What's going on, guys? JHoyt back with you today. Welcome back to Call of Duty Modern Warfare, where we got some Ramaza gameplay, playing some Hardpoint, of course, in the CDL playlist. So if you guys didn't watch this past weekend, I know I was busy all weekend, so I couldn't really watch much of the event, but I did try to watch all of the VODs and everything to try to catch myself up on what had happened. So if you guys didn't see it, the past weekend was the CDL Florida homestand. And boy, it was not a good time for Florida. But of course, we'll talk about them in a little bit. But this event was pretty crazy, as a lot of the teams you expect to win didn't actually win. But in order to get to the champion that we'll discuss later on, we got to get to the first matchup. So the first matchup of the event was the Toronto Ultra versus the New York Subliners. Now, coming off the last event, the New York Subliners looked to be a decent team. However, we did predict them to win in the Game 5 versus Toronto. However, Toronto actually comes out and wins this one 3-1. So instantly our bracket was thrown off. Now on to the second matchup, which usually is a good one. You had the hometown team, the Florida Mutineers, against the Minnesota Roker. Now this one, we predicted the Florida Mutineers to take this one in the Game 5. However, Florida doesn't win a map in this one. They get 3-0'd by Minnesota, moving them on to the second round. As instantly our bracket now has two errors. Now we predicted Minnesota and Toronto to be in the loser side of this bracket. However, they were in the winner side. This time though, Toronto gets the better of Minnesota, which again, online play, anything can happen. But kind of really surprising. Minnesota maybe not playing the best this weekend. Not exactly sure, but Minnesota goes down in this one. But catching up on the losers side of Group A here, the first matchup was the New York Subliners versus the Florida Mutineers. And this one, really surprising. Florida loses this one in their own homestand to become I believe it's the first team, like the first hometown team that's gone 0-6 and been double first rounded in their own tournament. Like, that's insane. But either way, Florida bows out 0-6 for the event, 0-2 overall. And New York moves on to face off against the loser of Toronto, Minnesota, which was Minnesota. So we have the New York Subliners and Minnesota going against, and once again, New York gets the 3-0. Would not really expect this, especially with Minnesota being one of those top, 6 teams. But hey, New York actually came out and played pretty well. So that's really interesting. So it moved Toronto and New York onto the semifinals. Winners round 1 in Group B featured the Atlanta FaZe and the Paris Legion. Now this one, we expected Atlanta to take the 3-0. It wasn't a 3-0, but we got it right though. It was a 3-1 for Atlanta, moving them on to the second round. The second matchup featured Optic Gaming Los Angeles and the London Royal Ravens. This time, we predicted that London was going to win this one 3-1. However, not the case. They take it in the Game 4, moving them on. So at least we got one of these matchups absolutely correct. But the second round of the winner's side of Group B, you had Atlanta FaZe versus the London Royal Ravens. We got this prediction perfectly correct. Atlanta takes this one in the Game 4. And this one was an absolute treat. I did see this one. But Atlanta does move on to the semifinals. Now we have to have a second team. So the first round of the losers bracket featured Optic Gaming Los Angeles and the Paris Legion. This time we predicted Paris was going to win this one. However, not the case. Optic Gaming with the 3-0, moving them on to the second round with the loser of the Atlanta-London game, and London ends up losing that one. But Optic Gaming came out strong in the second matchup as well, taking a second 3-0 over London. Really kind of surprising performance, especially with a new player on their squad. But that moves Atlanta and Optic Gaming Los Angeles to the semifinals. And as you guys probably remember, once you get to the semifinals, the seeds do reshuffle, where the winners of Group A face off against the losers of Group B, and then the winners of Group B face off against the losers of Group A. So in this case, you had the Toronto Ultra versus Optic Gaming Los Angeles. This time, you know, Toronto's been on a little bit of a run, but this is where they stop. Optic Gaming ends up winning this one in a Game 5, putting Optic Gaming Los Angeles in a grand final. Now, with all the struggles from Optic Gaming Los Angeles this year so far, you probably would never expect them to be in there, but the recent roster change must be helping just a little bit, because now they went from basically getting first or second round in every single tournament to now being in a grand finals versus the upcoming winner of the Atlanta FaZe and the New York Subliners. But Atlanta and New York, the last time these guys played, it went Game 5. It was after the New York Subliners took out Chicago, ended up losing to them once again though. And it was a good matchup last time. What are we going to have this time in this matchup? The same result. Atlanta, New York goes Game 5 once again. But this time, Atlanta FaZe comes out and makes it to the grand finals against Optic Gaming Los Angeles. Now, if this was a few years ago, you'd have FaZe versus Optic. You'd have one of the best storied rivalries of all time. However, with the new franchising system and all of the new rosters and organizations in the scene, is it still the same rivalry? I wouldn't say so, especially obviously, you know, Optic Gaming Los Angeles is a totally different brand, totally different image, totally different players and people in that organization. So I would say not. But the matchup of the Atlanta FaZe versus Optic Gaming Los Angeles, this one, Optic Gaming did not continue their run in this one. Atlanta FaZe becomes your second two-time CDL homestand winners. Now again, it was online, so you can't really do that, but Atlanta FaZe has been a good team all year long. Optic Gaming showed up when they needed to, made it to the grand finals. Now I know what a lot of people are saying. Why are 3 out of the last 5 teams in the grand finals, right? You had the Toronto Ultra, the New York Subliners, and Optic Gaming Los Angeles, all on the bottom side of the standings. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, online's crazy. Would this have been the same result on LAN, you know, in the Pro League? I don't know. I mean, I think the Optic Gaming still would have done pretty well. If this was their bracket going forward, I think they still would have done pretty well on LAN. I think when you look at it, Optic Gaming faced off against London. I still probably think they take that one on LAN. The second matchup, I guess if they would have won that, they would have faced off against Atlanta. They probably would have lost that one, but you can't really say probably. I mean, then you'd have them facing off against, and then that second matchup, they would face off against Paris, where, again, I could see them winning that one, but you never know, obviously. And then getting to the semifinals, it could be a similar thing where they move on to the grand finals and they be in that top side, and you know, if Florida's there, then it would be Florida versus Optic, and you just never know what would happen there. But some kind of post-event thoughts here, that there seemed to be some competitive integrity, I guess, things that happened at this event. I don't remember exactly which 2 matchups it happened in. It was definitely one with London. I think it was their first one versus Optic. No, it was versus FaZe. Yeah, so apparently there's a rule in the CDL that you can't have any non-branded drinks on stream or whatever. So Scraps from London ended up having a water bottle that wasn't, I guess, CDL approved or whatever. So I guess they gave him all water bottles. So he left to go fill up the water bottle and, you know, make it so it was okay. But apparently the ref wasn't paying attention, or, you know, wasn't doing their job correctly, and they ended up having to restart the match, and I think they forfeited map 1 or something, and it was just a whole big clusterfuck. I know Atlanta did say that they would agree to replay the map, but I don't know. I mean, that was just really weird. I know it happened a second time in another matchup, but I don't see the entire incident, so I can't really comment on it too much, but I definitely did want to mention it. But But other than that, obviously I didn't see most of this event, so I can't really give you some first-hand experience. Just kind of recapping what the event was, and obviously who ended up winning, be it the Atlanta FaZe. But a quick look at the standings afterwards here. This is again post Florida, as you see on your screen. Atlanta FaZe now take the top spot over Dallas. So they now sit at 170 CDL points. Second place, you have the Dallas Empire at 150. They were not at this event, along with the Chicago Huntsmen sitting at 130 CDL points, also not at this event. Then you have Minnesota with 110 CDL points. They got 10 from this last event. Florida get double first round in this one. They don't move anywhere, but they still sit in 5th place. You have the Paris Legion sitting in 6th place with 60 points. Then up in top 7, you have the London Royal Ravens and Optic Gaming Los Angeles. Another huge points for Optic Gaming. They get plus 30 in this one. The New York Subliners move up to top 9. I think they actually stay there. But they move up 20 points. The Seattle Surge not at this event, so they stay still. The Toronto Ultra get 20 points, so they get out of that dead last spot. But they're still technically in that bottom 3 spot in the league, and then not there the Los Angeles Guerrillas. So obviously they don't move anywhere. So moving on to the next event, we're gonna have the Seattle Surge, but of course we're gonna preview it once we get up to it. But thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, hit the like button down below. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, and as always guys, see you next time.